Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Mr. T coming at you from Portable 3. I hope you're having a great day in your classroom. I want to invite you right into my classroom. You're right in Portable 3 right now, and this is where I teach, this is where I learn, this is where I do my job, and I'm really excited to invite you in. If we're meeting for the first time, I'm an elementary school teacher. I teach 6th and 7th grade in Ontario. And I've been filming videos for about a decade, but in the last 2 to 3 years, I focused more on financial literacy and coding. And this is going to be episode 010, episode 10 in my financial literacy series. It's been a while since I filmed, almost a year. And I'm really glad to be back. I've done some other projects along the way, but I'm pumped to get going. Got to show you a Starbucks card, and I'm super stoked about this one because this is a limited edition, super special, amazing one, and it is from the Wicked movie. And I had to go to 6 Starbucks to get this one, and it is the limited edition gold one, and that's what it looks like there. It's pretty awesome. I'm really excited about it. I will take it out of the case at one point, but for right now, I'm just going to let it sit idle. You can see the 800 Starbucks cards behind me, and that is the backdrop in which I film all of my episodes. So yeah, let's jump into today's video. We're looking at cryptocurrency today. And why cryptocurrency? Well, there's a few reasons. The first main one is that I have a stock market activity, and if you want to go check that out below, teachers, I'll put a link to it down in the description. I had a lot of students asking for a crypto module. Reason number 2 is because a certain person just got elected as president, and he coined himself the Bitcoin president. And cryptocurrency has really gotten front and center stage in the media, in amongst traders. It's becoming more and more popular on Wall Street, and a lot of people saw it as something silly, as something far-fetched, as something mythical, and it's just becoming more and more and more and more and more and more and more adopted and mainstream. And I think it's cool to add this to the video. Now, does it fit in the curriculum? Teachers, we always got to go there first. Yes, it does. In the Ontario curriculum in grade 4, students are encouraged to look at ways to pay for things, and cryptocurrency is actually listed in the Ontario math curriculum. And then again in grade 6, we look at positive effects, negative effects of paying for things in certain ways. Although cryptocurrency is not listed there, it is an accepted form of payment. Cryptocurrency, it is simply an alternative way to pay for things. It is a currency. We all know what currencies are. There's the dollar, there's the euro, there's the British pound, there's the yen. Crypto is another currency. Crypto, meaning virtual or electronic, and currency, well, we all know what currencies are. So cryptocurrency is just another way to pay for things. Really, Bitcoin is the largest, safest, and most secure way to pay for things amongst cryptocurrency. All right, so that's what it is, and that's what Bitcoin is, okay? Now, if you've done any research with Bitcoin or with cryptocurrency, you've probably heard of this word called the blockchain. Let me unpack that for 1 second. When Bitcoin was created about 12 years ago, 14 years ago, it was created on the blockchain. And what the blockchain is, if you picture a very long line of code, it's all computer code, all right? Every time someone transacts with Bitcoin, that transaction or that stamp gets placed on a blockchain. It's like a little notch on this long ribbon, okay? And that ribbon can be viewed by people all over the world, all right? Believe it or not, I actually pay for my haircuts with Bitcoin. So my barber uses it as well, and I don't transact with him with money or paper money or credit card money. I transact with cryptocurrency. Every time I go get my haircut, I send them cryptocurrency with that equals the amount of money that I pay for my haircut. So it's very usable. People are using it. It's very accessible. But the idea of me having to go through PayPal and then back to that person, or me having to go through Venmo and then back to that person. The idea with the original thought was that I just want you to be able to pay for things electronically. It's very safe. Again, I mentioned it's very transparent. So cryptocurrency is a way to pay for things. Bitcoin is the biggest one. It's all electronic on the blockchain, and it's very safe. And the goal is to go from person to person, back and forth, back and forth. That was one of the original goals of Bitcoin. So what are some other cryptocurrencies? Well, there's a whole bunch of them. There's actually thousands of them, believe it or not. A really popular one is Dogecoin. You may have heard that with a certain person who owns Tesla. The Doge Father, if you remember the SNL episode. There's also one called Solana, which is really, really super fast. Another cryptocurrency, like I said, is Ethereum. So if you were to go and purchase Ethereum, you would purchase it as ETH, Ethereum. All right, that's the second largest one. Remember that, because I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. Okay, I want to finish off my video with 2 reasons why I personally love Bitcoin. I'm a believer in it, and I really think it's got an important place in our future. And students, I want you to remember that Mr. T said this, and teachers, I really want you to remember as well that in the coming years, it's going to become more and more popular, and I promise you're going to hear more and more and more about it. It's just going to grow in prominence in our society. All right, and I want to give you 2 reasons why I really like it, and one of them is actually from an angle of a teacher, okay, but I'll give you that one second. Okay, here's the first reason I really love Bitcoin. Let's pretend that I go to a concert or I go to an amusement park and I've got a whole bunch of water bottles and I want to sell those water bottles, okay? Makes sense, right? It's a hot summer day. I want to sell off those water bottles. Let me ask you a question. If I had 100 water bottles and there were 200 people there, I could probably sell those water bottles pretty quickly because there's 200 people and I only have 100 water bottles. So I could probably sell those water bottles for $5 each and people would buy them. Let's say the second day I go back, I got 100 water bottles, but this time there's 100 people. Well, that means everyone's going to get one. So maybe I'll be able to sell those water bottles for $2 each, right? Because there's not as much of a demand. And then I go back the next day and I've got 100 water bottles, but now there's only 20 people. Do you think that people are going to be as excited to get those water bottles as they would have been on the second day or the first day? Probably not, right? If you've got 500 people trying to get 10 or 100 water bottles, there's a lot of demand. But if you've got 100 water bottles and only 10 people, you're probably only going to be able to sell them for like a quarter, right? Because they're not going to be worth very much. Well, what happens in the government is that the governments all around the world, they print money. And what that's called is a debasement, or it makes your currency less valuable. I personally really like Bitcoin because there's only 21 million in circulation. 21 million coins, that's it. You can't make more Bitcoin, you can't print more Bitcoin, Bitcoin can't come out of thin air, but governments all around the world are making more money. And I've taught my class that that is called a debasement or a devaluing of your currency. And so Bitcoin is really cool because you can't make more of it, right? Whereas money, like paper money, it's getting printed all the time by countries all over the world. And it's actually making our buying power less valuable. It's like 100 water bottles or $100 and you've got 10 people, your money's not going to be worth very much. People aren't going to want those water bottles. They're not going to want that money because it's just not, there's so much of it floating around. So keep that in mind, okay? The second reason why I really like Bitcoin, teachers, it comes from the idea of equity. I know that that's a big word in education or teaching, and I'm sure students, you've heard of equity as well. Well, I really like Bitcoin because there are countries in the world that don't give out bank accounts to certain people. There are countries in the world right now that don't give out bank accounts to women. There are countries in the world that take people's bank accounts or seize people's bank accounts. It actually happened in Canada when there was this big rally, and I'm a Canadian, but there was this big rally. The people who were supporting this certain particular cause had their bank accounts frozen, right? Governments all around the world are able to grab your money or freeze your money or say you can't have a bank account, you can't have this, you can't have that. Where Bitcoin, because it's a global cryptocurrency, it's available to everyone. So if you're in a very rich country, you can own a piece of Bitcoin. And if you're in a very poor country, you can own a piece of Bitcoin. And if you're a woman living in a country where you can't get a bank account, you can own a piece of Bitcoin. Because a Bitcoin is not tied to any bank. It's not tied to any country. It's not tied to any financial institution. It's free. Well, it's not free. You have to pay for it, but it's available to everyone. And that to me is a very, very great reason why we should all run after Bitcoin. So I know this was a longer video. Thank you so much for sticking around with it. I really appreciate it. Students, you're going to have a worksheet if your teacher chooses to drop one for you. If you're in the stock market course, I hope this video was informative. I'm sorry it was a little bit long, but really I wanted to unpack this as clear as I could. I know there's so much more I could talk about. There's so much more I would love to talk about to explain it even more to you, but I hope you got just a taste of what cryptocurrency is. So just to recap, remember, it's a way to pay for things. Bitcoin is the biggest one. Ethereum is the second biggest. And really, it's a safe way, a very transparent way of paying for things. Everyone can see it. Can you imagine if governments and businesses around the world used Bitcoin and people in the public could see what they're spending their money on? I don't think governments and banks and all those people would want that, right? But it's a very transparent way, and I think personally it's a very equitable source of money. It's a very equitable source of currency, and I just love the fact that it's available to everyone all over the world. So anyways, thanks so much for checking out this video. I do appreciate it. Take a look at that stock market course, and until the next video, I really hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like the video. I really appreciate it. Take care.